Hello everyone, the GW Railfan here, and welcome to the first episode in a mini-series of how to make a scenario for Train Simulator. So, I'm aiming to make this as simple as possible and easy to follow to understand as I can. That sentence made no sense whatsoever, but we'll ignore that. I'm going to make this as simple as I can. We are going to be using like AP trains and things like that, so I'm going to try and make it nice and easy to follow. I know there's a lot of these tutorials already, but I wanted to do my own one, because I do actually make quite a few scenarios. I'll put a few of them on the screen now. Yeah, I do actually make a fair few myself. A few of them are out publicly. So yeah, this is a tutorial on how to make a scenario. So we're going right from scratch for this one. You can see we're in the Train Simulator menu. And the first thing you're going to want to do is click Build. And yes, I have actually turned Capture Cursor on, because it is fairly important to see the cursor for this one. So when you click Build, it should go into the Route tab to start with, and you'll have a list of all your routes, but you want to click on Scenario here at the top. And you see you have a list of all the routes here. So first you want to find the route you want to do it on. We're doing it on the Just Trains South Western Expressway to Reading, which is actually quite a new route. I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's pretty good. So you can see, so here when you click on it, this is a list of all the existing scenarios. So you've got free roam there, standard there, and the quick drives. So yeah, to do this, so to start off, you're going to want to click New Scenario at the bottom here, and you'll be greeted with this menu. So the name of the scenario, which is what will appear here. So what I usually do is in square brackets put the class of train, which in this case is 150-2 plus 158. Full scenario. So by the way, I'm using a real service that happened, I think it's yesterday, the day I'm recording this, the 5th of June 2021. And it's 1F03 Bristol Temple Meads to Portsmouth Harbour at 5:40 in the morning. So I'll put a link to the website that I'm using to do this. It's called Real Time Trains. It's quite a well-known website, and I heavily recommend it for scenario creation because it's just really useful. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. So it was a 150-2 and a 158. And the service head code was 1F03, and it's Bristol Temple Meads to Portsmouth Harbour. Right, so that's the name done. So the next thing you're going to want to do is pick your type. Now, I'm going to be showing you how to make a standard scenario for this one, which is usually what people do. Career scenario is what's included with most DTG routes. So basically, the difference between a career and a standard scenario. Standard is basically the same as career with no points, no scoring. Most people, when they're making scenarios, will use standard mode. A free roam is just like you spawn in and you can click on a train and drive it wherever you like. A timetable scenario is probably the least known type of train sim scenario. It's like it's kind of similar to free roam, like you spawn in and you can click on a train, but you have to follow a schedule. And quick drive is a very different kettle of fish, to be honest. This is what you see when you go drive and then quick drive, and you can just drive from a point to point in a train that you choose on a route. But we're doing a standard scenario for this one. And here you want to pick the start point. So you should have a list of the start points, usually it's going to be the stations you can start at. We're starting at Bristol Temple Meads, which is at the top of the list. Route origin is usually in the middle of nowhere with these things, to be honest. It's just where they started building the route from, but Bristol Temple Meads is where we're starting today. So then you're going to hit create, and it will throw you into a loading screen. There we go. So now we're going to wait for train sims to load. I'll cut this part out of the recording because it'll probably be a while. So yeah, back in a minute. Alright, so we have now loaded into the game. Now, important note, don't left click anything immediately when you load in, because you've got important things to do here. Now, if you've never made a scenario before, it's more than likely that these flyouts here at the left and right will not be here. That's because, well, as I said, they're flyouts. If you move your mouse over to the very left or very right, they'll pop out. And I would recommend pinning them. Mine are here all the time because they've all got these little pin buttons in the corner. I would recommend getting them out and then pinning them so they stay here. this one as well. So this is the important box when you're starting making a scenario. So this is all the details. So you see the title here, which we already typed. We did that when we were creating the scenario, but if you want to change it now, if you made a typing error or something, you can. So it says supply description here. This is what will appear in the description. I'll put an image on screen now of what this is. So this is the text that appears there in the menu when you're looking at the scenario. Yeah, so basically you want to type your description here. So what you want to be here. So I'm going to type drive a GWR. Right, so I'm happy with that. So that's what's going to appear in that text at the bottom. Supply briefing. Now this is when you're in the game. If you press F1 for the task list, you know how there's a bit of text above that? I'll put an image on screen. When there's a bit of text above that, that's what goes here. So I'm basically just going to, for now, I'm just going to copy this and paste it in here. I might add some other stuff to this later. This scenario is going to be publicly available when I finish making it, by the way. Right, so here, this box is optional. This is the author box, which I like to use. So you can put your name in here. So I'm going to do mine here. It doesn't really do anything putting your name there, but it's nice to leave your mark somewhere. This is the start location. So this is also does not do anything, but it's usually a good idea to type it in here. It does completely nothing. This is the date, which again, it really does not matter, but I'm just going to do it anyway, seeing as we're following an actual service pattern. This one here, now this is the difficulty, so you'll probably notice when you go in scenarios, they have like, see the 2 green boxes, 3 yellow boxes, 4 orange boxes, or 5 red ones, and that's the difficulty level. So I'm going to do mine, so 1 is 2 green boxes, 2 is the 3 yellow ones, 3 is the 4 orange ones, and 4 is the 5 red ones. So I'm going to do 2 here, so I'll get the yellow ones for this scenario. This is the duration, which appears next to the difficulty in minutes. So this journey that I'm doing, so what I'd recommend you do for this journey I'm doing should take about an hour, actually just under an hour, about more like 50 minutes. So what you do, don't type the exact time in. I would say find your time and then round it up to the nearest multiple of 5. This is like a 46-minute journey, so I'm going to put 50. Yeah, I would say round it up to the nearest multiple of 5 is the easiest to read. This is the start time. So this is the time the scenario starts. So the train leaves at 5:40, so I'm going to do 5:37. I'd recommend doing it like 2 or 3 minutes before. This is your weather, so if you go drop that arrow down, you got all the weather patterns that you can do here. I'm just going to do cloudy for this one. This is the season, so spring, summer, autumn, winter. We'll just leave it as summer because it's June. This is the train type, which really doesn't matter. You've got steam, diesel, and electric, but I would say just leave that one. Then you've got a few options here. So this is force simple controls, and this is force expert controls, which you don't need to worry about. This is force cab camera, which I like because when you load in the scenario, you'll be in the cab. If you have that unticked, it'll be in like the number 2 camera. But if you keep that ticked, when the scenario loads in, you'll be in the cab immediately, which I like. And this one is a rolling start, which I won't get onto in this tutorial. I might do that in a third part for like advanced mechanics. But for actually making the scenario, I think we'll just stick with this for now. So that's that done. So now you can left click, and that will go away. So now it's being incredibly laggy. Jesus. Oh dear, yeah, this is lovely. Okay, so here we are. We're at Bristol Temple Meads. Now you'll notice, flying around this editor, you'll see these things dotted around. These are scenario markers. So you saw we were like sat here directly in front of this one. The one directly in front of you is yours. So you can see I can move this. I would recommend putting this thing at the front of your train, because that's the scenario load point where that marker is. What is this lag? Bloody hell. Yeah, that's one thing I am noticing with this route. The lag is a bit noticeable. But yeah. It's frozen again. Jeez. Right, come on, I just want to move the scenario marker. Right, we'll just leave it there for now, because I don't know exactly where my train is actually going to be. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is place the player train. So in this tutorial I'm just going to do the player train, run through the instructions and do the instructions. The next part is going to be doing AI trains. And the third part will probably be like advanced stuff like rolling starts and scripting and things like that. So what you want to do is get your train. So it's likely that your train will be from another route or another add-on that you want to use. If it is, you need to go over to this middle flyout and click this box here. This is called the object set filter. It's like a little blue cube with an orange arrow next to it. If you click that, you'll get a flyout of this size, which again you'll want to pin. Just move your mouse over to here and it'll pop out. This is the list of asset providers. These are all the people who make stuff for Train Sim. I'm using AP trains for this one. So it's the Class 150-2 DMU pack, so that's Class 150 Pack 01. Make sure you find these things out, by the way. It shouldn't be too difficult to find. Some of them are obvious. If you're looking for a certain Armstrong Powerhouse pack, Class 150 Pack 01 is the 150-2 DMU. The Class 150-1 enhancement is, I think that's C150 EP. But yeah. We also want C158 EP, I think it's called, for the Class 158s. But the Class 158s are an EP, so that's just the AP folder for it. We now need to go to RSC and tick Class 159 Pack 01, because that's what it enhances. Sometimes when you click it, it takes a minute. Don't like spam click it, just give it a minute. And also make sure both of these boxes are ticked. So the center box and the outside box need to be ticked. This one is not important for scenarios, that's for route building. But make sure this one and this one are ticked. I also need, because we're using the GWR 158 in this, the Major Wales Ploughy patch for the 158, so that's MJWC 158. There we go. Right, so now that we've done that, we can go. So these are your rolling stock. So this is engines and tenders. This is rolling stock, so that's just like freight wagons and coaches, and this is consists. So this is good if you're using multiple units, which I am. So there you go. So you can see, because we've done that, the AP Class 150-2 is here. So if the names are too long to read, which they usually are with AP, so if you hover over it for a second, it will give you the full name, and it also scrolls like that if you hover over it for a second. So we want the AP Class 150-2 Great Western Railway. No, we don't. We want the first Great Western blue one. Actually, while we're here, let's talk about requirement lists. So I would heavily recommend making a requirements list as you go. So I'm actually just going to do that now. You're not going to be able to see this, but I'm going to get a notepad file open. And I'm going to start making requirements for this. You can't see this, but I'm now typing requirements up. I would heavily recommend doing that so you don't lose track of your requirements. Just get like a notepad file, or on your phone use like Google Docs or something, or a notepad on your phone. And type up the requirements as you add them. And if you're using a freeware route, make sure you write, you don't have to write the freeware route requirements, just write the freeware route and then in brackets and its requirements or something. It's what most people do. Right, I'm gonna keep typing these. I'll see you in a second when I finish typing these up. Right, one requirement typing thing. That didn't make any sense later. I'm good at speaking. We're good to go. So, now we're going to find our train. This actually has a freeware requirement as well. So, we want to use the FGW Blue 219. Basically, the difference with 15219 is that it's in the first Great Western Blue livery, like this, but it has digital screens. You can see there. Unlike the rest of the AP pack, which just has the It just has the roller blinds on the plain blue livery. So I don't know where exactly this needs to be placed, to be honest. I'm just going to guess it's probably somewhere in the middle like that. We are putting another train behind it. It's 152.19. Now you're going to want to refer to the AP manual for this. So to get the menu up, if you want to change like a unit number or you want to set a destination, you need to go in here, double click on the unit, and you'll be greeted with this. This is another flyout. You'll have to move to the side if you haven't got it already. So this first thing, this is the fuel level on a diesel train. This won't be here on an electric train. On a steam train you have two of these, one for coal and one for water. On a diesel train you have one for fuel. I don't think there's any on electric trains, but I'm not sure. This is the rolling stock number. Now, usually you'll have the number in here, 152.19, which is already correct. And then this letter here is the destination, usually. So A is just blank. You see it says Barnstable at the moment, but when we actually load into the scenario, that will be blank. Which I'm actually going to leave because it's the start of a service, so we'll leave it as blank. And we can just hold F8 to do that. But usually the manuals, if you're using an AP train, it will all be in the manual, what the different letters to preset destinations. So the second thing we want is the class 158, so we're going to scroll down. Here we go. I want the GWR2 car. These are all the X liveries. That's Great Western. That's Great Western. That's North Western. Across all the first liveries. Great Western Railway 3 car. I want a 2 car. There we go. It should load in. I'll just place it. Da, da, da. There we are. Wonderful. So we might actually have to change the number of this. Yeah, we're going to. Why is it giving it a 1589 number? That's the 3 cars. Okay. Sense. Yeah, so this is the 158 which we have now. Is it this case? Yes, this case. So you can see this has a similar numbering for things. So it's 158765 is what we need. And when you change it, oh, the plough decided to change. You'll see the number out here change as well. So if I change it to 766, you'll see the number automatically updates. It's actually changing the plough. That's fun. It's probably a major Wales thing, but yeah. So that's our 158 done. I'm going to leave the destination for that blank as well. We'll change it on starting the scenario. So that's the train. Yes, this did actually happen. I'll put pictures as proof that this did actually happen. Another thing you'll notice is that the weather hasn't actually updated after you set up the scenario. You have to load in to do that. So I'm actually going to do that now. So to load into the scenario, you just hit this play button at the bottom. It'll say save changes. Yes. And then it should load in. So I'm going to cut here because it might be quite slow, because as we've already proven, this route's laggy. So yeah, I'll see you in a second. Alright, the game has now loaded. As you can see, the weather has now taken effect and the time. So you can see it looks much more like early morning, because that's what we set it to. Are there any screens here? Yeah, there we go. So you see the screens are displaying the time that you would have set as well. So yeah, and you'll see the destination lines have updated, so they don't say anything now. Because, well, they would say something if you set them to say something, but yeah. So to get back into the editor, the best way to do it is to do Control and E on your keyboard. And then this is the route building editor, but then you want to go to the top here and click on the train. That's the scenario editor. Editing scenario, click yes. And now we wait for the scenario editor to load. So now we're in, and you see it's put us wherever we put our thing now. And now we know that's where the front of our train's going to be. So we can move the scenario marker next to the train. Just click on it, left click on the scenario marker once, you'll get this pop-up thing, and it will tell you, and you can move it in varying directions from there. So, we now have our train. What do we do now? So, you'll see at the top here, there's all these buttons. You don't really need to worry about many of these, but what you do need to worry about is this one. It's like a person with a hat, that's a driver. So you click on that, then click on the thing on the front of your train, and you'll see a little things appeared above it now. This is the driver. and that means we can now edit instructions for this train. So you'll see this button here with like a clock on it is now clickable. If there's no trains with drivers, this won't be on it anymore. When you click on this, you'll get into this menu. So if you scroll out, this is just the route map, which you would have seen if you've been playing the route. Actually very expensive for this route. We're going from here down to here in this scenario. So we're here at Bristol Temple Meads. You'll see your train is there as service 1, and you'll see the things that you've placed there. These things are all the signals. They look different on other routes. It's just because this is a Just Trains route. They look a little bit odd. But yeah, I'm not sure why the 4:3 aspect ratio as well. You'll see the side of your screen is just black. I don't really get it. But the first thing you want to do is set up the details. So if you click on the driver icon here, this is the list of trains, by the way. If you get more trains with drivers, if you do AIs later, there'll be more on this list. But this is the player train for now. So what I would recommend naming it is the head code, and then the 3-letter station codes where it's going to and from, which in this case is BRI for Bristol Temple Meads and PMH for Portsmouth Harbour. Real-time trains tells you these things. I'm going to put player in brackets so we know it's the player train. Press enter, and you see that changes. So there we go. And now you're going to want to tick, this is important, you're going to want to, don't worry about the start time. This is important, you need to tick this box here, and that means it's the player train. So basically, don't do that with any AIs, only do it with the train that you're going to be driving in the scenario. That means it's the player train, so you'll start driving this train and not other ones. This is the train priority. Most of these are fairly self-explanatory. I'm going to put it on stopping passenger for this one because it's more of a local train. And that's all you need to worry about with that menu. So now, because this is the start of the scenario, you're going to want to add a message. Before we do that, actually, I'll run through what all the buttons at the top do. So that's the save button, which you'll probably want to do from time to time. I'll do it now. That's the delete button, and these are only available after you've added some other things here. Right, these are the instructions. So this is the stop at destination instruction, but it's also the go via instruction. So if you click on that, you'll see you get the little hand here. So this will pop up in the list as stop at this place. But if you change that to 1 mile an hour, it will now appear as go via this place in the scenario list. This next one with 2 people, that's a passenger stop. So we're going to actually use that one now. I'll do that. So to select the marker that you want to select the platform, obviously we're doing Bristol Temple Meads platform 15. There's 3 ways. Either you can type the name in here, which is probably the least efficient way of doing it. Click this arrow here, you get a drop down list of every marker on the route, and you can just select it from that list. But the easiest way of doing it is by clicking this box here. It's like an arrow pointing to a box, and then clicking on it on the map. It's quite hard to do, and then it will just appear automatically in that list. So that's the easiest way of doing that. I'll do the other stuff in a minute. I'll just go through what the other instructions are first. This is a pick up freight or fuel instruction. This one that looks like a little fuel pump. So that can be used for either if you're refueling a diesel train or a steam train with coal or water, you can add that and pick the marker. Or if you've got a freight scenario and you want to load freight into a train, you can use that. This one, probably the least used one, is marshal, which basically means if you can be in like a locomotive and you've got to pick up some wagons, so coaches or freight wagons in various sidings. It doesn't matter what order you get them in, and then take them somewhere. That's basically what that is for. This one here, that's like a plus and an arrow, that is coupled to front vehicle. So if you're like in a scenario when you're doing like running around a train, so you couple your engine. If you're coupling something to the front of the locomotive, use that one. This one is for coupling to the back of the locomotive. This one is decouple. So if you add that, I'll show you actually. If you do this, you can click on that, and then you click on this button. It gives you the names of the rolling stock. So if I wanted to decouple the 158 from my class 150, you could do that, and then do all the ones you want to drop off, and that would tell me drop off my class 158 somewhere and set the marker. You can do that there. This is a message which we're actually going to use. It's a trigger instruction, which basically is like a message, but you can also use it for other things. If you play scenarios and you've got messages, that's what this is. So this thing that's got like +00 on it, that is the delay after. So it's like after the last instruction. That's how long it is after that. There's several boxes here. This is trigger train stops. That basically means when this point is when it reaches this instruction, it will slam the e-brakes on. When you do this one, it's trigger wheel slip. So if you ever wanted to just randomly have wheel slip every time at a certain point in a scenario, you can do it. This is the trigger event, which you'll need for scripting, but you don't need to worry about it too much for now. But if you just want to type a message, that's this big box here. So we're actually going to use this in a minute. I'll do that now actually. So I'm going to type the message. No. That'll do. So now we want to actually move that up because we did the pass-through instruction first. So what we're going to do is click this box to tick it. You see these buttons have now become accessible. So this is move up list and this is move down list. This one is select all, this one's deselect all, this one's delete. So we want to move it up. There we go. So that will now appear as soon as we load into the scenario rather than after we've finished picking up passengers. On to the instruction. This is final destination. This is only important for the player train. So when you finished at the end of a scenario, you want to put the final destination marker in. You don't need to do that for AIs, but you do need to do it for the player train. We'll do that. We'll use that in a bit. This is a waypoint. It's not a go via, it's a waypoint. So if you just want to go via a certain marker without it coming up as a go via instruction on the HUD, that's what that's for. And these two at the end here is script, and this one is strings. Strings, I am not even sure what strings does myself, to be honest with you. I don't know in what case it would be used. Script is when you're doing Lua scripting, which we're going to do in part 3. I can do a bit of Lua scripting, I can do announcements and stuff. Like it plays a sound in the middle of the game. But I can't do like advanced Lua scripting particularly. But we're doing that in part 3. We're not doing that now. So let's actually carry on making the player train. So the first thing you're going to want to take note of is that this percentage here, this is the performance percentage. Now I would recommend always setting this to 100%, even if you don't necessarily need to. Ticking that box here makes it a timetable instruction, so if you leave that unticked, that basically means it doesn't matter what time you do it, or to what time you finish doing it. If you tick this, it has to be done at a certain time. So what I would say do is like, if it's the first one in a scenario, put it 1 minute before you're meant to leave, and we're leaving at 5:40, so we'll do that. So that's now timetable, so the doors will close at 05:40. The other things you're going to need to worry about here are these text box instructions. So this is display message, so after you finish it, it will display a message here. This is achievement text successful and achievement text unsuccessful. So if you've completed the instruction successfully, you can have text for that. If you fail the instruction, you can have a different text for that. If you do it in this one, it will appear in either case. Final thing you really need to worry about is this one. This is hide in task view. Basically, if you press F1 and look at the instruction list, if you have that ticked, this will not appear in that list. But yeah, and it also won't appear on the HUD. But yeah, that's what that's for. If you like want to do a hidden go via instruction, is what that's usually used for scripting. But I'm going to say in the box after we finish opening the doors. There we go. So when the doors close and we finish picking up passengers, it will display that message. So now let's keep going. So the first stop for this train was Keynsham, as I wrote, which is here. So we're going to add another passenger stop. It will also put underneath. You do that. Click the box, it's the easiest way of doing it. Click on the marker, and you'll see there's now a red line on the map, and that red line is the route the train is taking to go from wherever it is to that marker. So you see it's leaving there. Let's make sure it's actually being sensible. It is indeed being sensible. So if it's going the wrong way, or you want to route it via a certain marker, say if I wanted to like run on the wrong track for some reason, you can put a waypoint in, move it up. There'll be a warning here, don't worry about that. And when you do this, it'll fix itself. If you want to run on the wrong track, you can do that. If it would actually let me click it, there you go. So you see now it's going via that marker. We don't really want that. We want to actually be on the correct side of the track, so let's do that. So it's going to go down here, and it's going to go into Keynsham platform there. So now I need to go back to real-time trains and find out what time it's actually meant to be there, because I don't know. Keynsham 0546 to 0547. And there we go. So even if you don't need, so if it's like later than you want it to be, you can increase that to 100%, not 1,000, 100%. If it's like, if you timetable it and it's after you want it to arrive, put it to 100%, and that will likely go up. You see, if I untick that and tick it again, you see it's now sooner. But we need 0546 is the arrival time, and 0547 is the departure time. So there we go. So now it's basically just this on repeat until you're done with it. This is more of a passenger service. For freight services it's a bit different, although nothing really worth covering as like a separate episode. It's just stop at. You won't need to use these, you'll be using these ones for freight because that's just stop at somewhere. So I'm actually going to skip this part of the video until I've done instructions all the way down to Westbury now, because there's quite a few stops. So I'll skip ahead of this and I'll see you when we've added all the instructions in. Okay, so I have now finished with all the passenger stops. You see they're all timetabled. If I zoom out, you'll see the red line actually covers the whole route. What we're doing, so that's what we're doing, we're starting up there and we're finishing down there. Stopping at every station, including Avon. I did actually put a message here in this one to say that only one coach fit in the platform at Avon, at the one before at Freshford, but the rest of them are all just normal. So yeah, that's that. So now let's talk about final destinations. So you're only going to need to do this with the player train. It can be done on AI trains, but it's not necessary. But with the player train, at the last stage place it's stopping at, you need to do this instruction here. And yes, this is going to cause lots of errors. Don't worry, it's fine. So it's just like a passenger stop, really. Just do it, click on it at the same place where your last passenger stop was, if it'll let me, and there we go. So you just need to do that with passenger services. Otherwise, if you don't do that, when you load in, there'll be an error that says final destination missing. So yeah, you need to do that passenger services. There's not really any rhyme or reason for it. You just have to do it. But yeah, just do it on the same platform as your last passenger stop, really. But yeah, that's that really. That's about all I have to say about that. So yeah, I think that's going to conclude part 1 of scenario creation. I hope you enjoyed that. Part 2 will be up soon, and that's going to be more about AI trains. So yeah, this is the end of this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you do enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.